Have you met Steve?
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to get to know you better today, and that scares me a little bit. Cool. I'm going to start then.
Okay.
This is Kat Mattis, and you're listening to the Sarcasm Society Podcast. Like every week, I'm Kat Mattis, and this is the Sarcasm Society Podcast. I'm here with Mike Peters and Stephen Brown today.
What up?
Hi.
You guys want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Mike Peters. I am a comedian from Binghamton, and I'm here in the morning. I got hot chocolate. That's my motivation for coming here. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Stephen Brown. I am also a comedian from Binghamton, and my motivation from being here is I have my kids this weekend.
Well, thanks for making the time. Do they have a sitter, or are they home alone?
They're home alone. They're not even all home. They're just alone.
This podcast is coming out May 15th, so May is also Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. So what do you guys do to stay mentally healthy?
Nothing. We do comedy.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything really healthy for the mind when you do stand-up. You're pretty much, you keep yourself busy, and I think you're distracted, but I don't. I do therapy, so that's my weekly thing.
Yeah.
But, that's about it.
Yeah, I used to do therapy, but then the time slot was bad, and I stopped. Also, I've fully actualized my mental health. I perfected it. So
You're perfect. You've reached the hierarchy of needs.
Yep, absolutely.
Type thing.
Yeah, Pavlov got nothing on me.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Or is it Maslov? It's Pavlov, right?
Yeah, Pavlov.
All right, fuck yeah.
Well, that's-
I took a course.
It's like Maslow's hierarchy of need, but then it's Pavlov is the training, like the operant conditioning. So
Okay, it's been 25 years.
I was a psychology major, so I'm basically a therapist.
Great, perfect.
Yeah.
Mike, you can get a cheaper one now.
There you go. Cool. What's
Yeah.
your copay?
$800.
All right, I gotta go with the old one.
Sorry, I'm not even qualified. I can just get you drugs with that money too.
Interesting.
We do have a Binghamton therapist. We could just go see Amanda.
That's very true. That's right. Amanda Roberto is a comedian. She's a therapist.
Yeah.
She doesn't give drugs. I don't know. Maybe I haven't asked her.
Well, that's not really your scene anyway.
No, I'm not
Well-
anti-drugs.
As comedians, do you actually think you have a coping mechanism, or is it just comedy bits?
I think I've always defaulted to a joke. If something bad, I got stabbed one time, and I made jokes while being lifted onto the ambulance. So yeah, I think that's always been how I do things. Like I take a lot of things seriously, but it helps filter that through some humor because I don't know. If
What
you're
was
not
the
laughing-
joke?
What's that? Oh, that?
Yeah.
They were they lifted me up, and I was stabbed on the left side by two guys, and they lifted me up and said, "How you doing?" I said, "Well, I've had better days."
Yeah,
And then everybody, I think three or four, like the EMS, the nurses, whatever level, they're all like, "Welcome to Baltimore," and I'm like, "All right." So they, that's kind of dark humor there too. So
Yeah.
we were all zinging that night. It was a whole lot of fun.
Now that I know it's Baltimore, you only got stabbed once there?
I know. I think I got stabbed the second month I was there, and then it provided some level of immunity. So I don't think I could get stabbed anymore.
It's almost like you met your copay.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they're not gonna worry about me.
But same for me. I've always just dealt with humor, and I did therapy for a very, very long time too. But I remember during the big fight of my divorce, when I found out about the stuff that was going on, I remember I was like, "Oh yeah, well I've had sex with thousands of women while we were together," and it's just I lost my shit because I thought that was really funny. She's like, "You can't even take getting divorced seriously." I was like, "I cannot."
No, but relationship fights, and then you throw in a joke, and it's have you ever gone from crying to laughing really hard?
Probably the other way around. That's how I diffuse fights. And my girlfriend and I, we fight probably once every year. Day. But I think that's how I end it. And I say something funny, or I laugh, or I don't know, say something predictable, and it'll get her to laugh. And then she's like, "You're an idiot." I'm like, yeah, let's fucking go to Applebee's now. So yeah, it's my my kind of master key.
Yeah.
get out of trouble.
I saw a funny thing. Goes to escalate your text arguments like your own texts.
That's a true narcissist
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
very
Like
funny.
that would be crazy. I've never done that on purpose.
I'm going.
Have
to
you
now.
ever done that like drunk where you're like that's really funny and then you realize it's your own message in a group chat?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I've never have. I've never thought anything I said was funny.
Okay. Luckily other people have.
That's debatable.
I mean, with that, like you said something like you've done the other way, you've gone from laughing to crying. Have you ever had that moment where you have to like save yourself on stage because you say something and you're like, oh, that was too true? Like, am I spiraling?
Probably. On Thursday, I said something which I thought was funny. And I've been doing this show at Prison City Brewery for like 4.5 years. And they they would cancel the show if we didn't get enough people out there. Or they changed the ticket format, so whatever. It was frustrating. But at the beginning of the show, I thanked everybody because I didn't want to let it bring everybody down at the end. But I thanked everybody, say, it's been 4.5 years. I really appreciate you guys being here. And I said, how many people here are here for the first time? And probably about 10 people raised their hand. And we had like 30 people, something like that in the audience. 10 people raised their hand for the first time. And I'm thinking like, okay, it's been 4.5 years. What the fuck took you so long? And I probably said, what took you so long? But I'm like, well, you're here and have a good time. And at the end of the show, I thanked everybody for being here. And I said something like, you guys here for the first time, maybe if you come earlier, we could have been doing the show still. And nobody really got it right away. And I'm like, that was supposed to be funny. And everybody laughed. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm like, maybe they were like, is he really mad at us? And I wasn't. It was just like, guys, like, let's be common sense on this. Like, if we had 10 more people at every show, we would have still had the show. Like, they wouldn't have, jacking us around a little bit. So there are times where I'll get off stage and I'm like, maybe that was a little, Dimitri Martin said it. He had a joke and I never remember the joke. But he ad-libbed something and it was too dark. And he goes, I let a little too much of the inside on the outside. And sometimes I'm like, maybe I should have held back on that. And it's not because I don't know. It's not because it's offensive. It's just like, they didn't get my humor. And like, that's probably an inside thought that should have kept inside.
Yeah. No, I get that. What about you, Any?
No, I really run at a level of no shame ever. So it's...
Did you grow into that? How'd you get that?
I just think just being the youngest of 4 kids and, it's... I don't know, no, I'm not going to let the inside thoughts out. I'm going to take your advice.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Gives you something to think about all day.
Yeah.
As long as it happens in an open mic and not... Well, I have a joke about letting an outside thought out in a conversation when someone's like, hey, if you could be anyone in the world, who would you be? And I said my grandma because she's dead.
Yeah.
And that's like, oh, I really shouldn't have said that. But that was a real conversation.
Yeah.
So they went over, but it does make it kind of funny. And, I tried that here. And it's on a clip on my Instagram. But it worked only because other people were making dead people jokes too. So
Yeah, that's the hard part with like the dark comedy. If you're the first person to do it, it's a gamble. But once you know it works, you're like, all right, you're up for anything.
Well, that's why like hosting these shows here is so hard because I try to have new material every show. And it's hard to write good jokes with any time frame, but especially like every 2 weeks. And so and you only get what you got. So sometimes like, hey, there's 3 good jokes. Other times like, here is 3 jokes about my dead sister. Let's see what works.
that's what happened
Yeah.
to me. So it really depends on what's going on in life.
Yeah, whatever I got this week, this is what you're getting. And it's not always great.
Yeah, if I had a bad week, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get ready to cry.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about the idea that comedians write better jokes when they're depressed?
I disagree.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think everybody's different on that. I think I write better when I'm happy. But I think it depends on who you are as a comedian. Like if you're a dark comedian, maybe being depressed helps. I mean, like not like dark, like I like dark jokes, but like dour. And I'm just not that way. I feel like if I'm in a better mood, I'm a better writer. And I also think like I'm a deadline-oriented guy. Used to be a journalist, so like I think I write better when my back's against the wall. Like, I'll sometimes come up, the best joke I have all night might be something I wrote while, getting ready to host an open mic, because I've got 7 minutes left. I'm like, all right, well, fucking let's go with this. And it works. And I'm like, all right. I mean, that's just me tricking myself into, like, saying that lazy is good. But I don't know. I don't honestly feel like the more depressed, like, when bad stuff happens, you might be able to mine for some information. Like, if I have, a flat tire on the car, it might give me another minute or two a joke about something bad that happened. But I don't know, if I'm depressed, I don't feel like doing anything.
No, when I'm happy, I'm finding the whimsy in more things. I'm looking at things in a more positive light, so I'm seeing more of what's funny about them. I find that, like, when I'm doing well is when I'm goofing around more in conversation, and that's where so many jokes come from. Texting with buddies or just goofing around with friends, like, oh shit, that was a good line. How can I retrofit that to something? But if I'm in the dumps, in the morbs, so to speak, my brain isn't always looking for that.
Yeah, at that point, all you have are jokes about your cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first 4 years of your career.
5.
Yeah. Cats, Sasha.
That's a bit.
Yeah.
That's all I got, man.
Well, I think it's interesting because I got into comedy like a lot of people when my life was falling apart. And I was like, this is so funny right now. But now that I'm kind of like, even recently, like I've gone through something terrible. I moved to Buffalo. Awful.
The Scranton of New York.
Yeah. Well, that's where Tia is instead of hanging out with us. So it can't be that bad. But it's just, when it comes to writing jokes and everything, it's a common misconception.
Do you feel like you do better when you're up?
Yeah. But like having depression and trying to do comedy where you're like, I would just love to laugh right now. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. But okay, yeah.
I think you hit it. You hit it, because being depressed is a really good gateway into doing stand-up. I host a podcast, and I've had, I think, like 330 episodes, something like that. And I interview comedians, so it's like usually one-on-one. And I asked them, what got you started in doing stand-up? And I would say more than half of them were kind of lost in life, just gotten out of a relationship, divorce, breakup, whatever, just got fired. It's almost never, everything's going really well. How can I add some joy into my life? It's, my back is against the wall. I don't know what to do. Shit, I like Bill Burr. He looks like he's kind of having fun. Not all the time, but like, he looks like he's having fun and people like it. I've always kind of wanted to do that. Let me try it. I mean, so many people I've talked to is like divorce to stand up. It almost never stand up, then divorce. I mean, sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're the most true version of yourself on stage, or how do you separate your real person from your on-stage persona?
I don't think there's a difference for me, really.
I think I'm getting closer to, I used to have a persona on stage. I don't think I do anymore. I'm getting closer to, I don't know, I think I'm an open book, but like, I'm getting closer to like just coming on stage and saying what happened and whatever, and trying to make no deviation from it. But yeah, I'm probably as close as I'm gonna get right now. Like, but I used to be a character, and not like a ventriloquist or something like that, but like straight one-liners, not emoting at all, and kind of robotic. And now I don't think I am. I mean, I might sound robotic because I've said the joke 1,900 times, but I feel like I get on stage and like, there's not a whole lot of difference between me on stage and me off stage, like talking to somebody. I'm still trying to be a nice guy and, crack jokes at myself. But that took probably 2 years to shake off.
Were you ever trying to be any other comedian?
Yeah, not subconsciously.
Yeah.
But I think, I always say the three that I emulated, like I always wanted to be George Carlin, and maybe I'll get there one day, but that wasn't who I was trying to emulate.
Do more drugs.
What's that?
Do more drugs.
Yeah, have more heart attacks. Do more drugs.
Do any drugs.
Basically. That's drink more too. But no, the three, Mike Birbiglia is one of my all-time favorites, and still want his storytelling ability in the worst way. John Mulaney, his cadence, I think I took a little bit with Birbiglia's, and then Demetri Martin's joke style. Like I switched from like telling stories to one-liners just to learn how to tell jokes, write jokes, and I copied too much of his mannerisms and everything, and even like I made a comedian profile on Facebook, and it's Mike Peters, comedian, period. That is Demetri Martin with comedy, period. Like I love that guy so much, still do. But the problem is he's way smarter than I'll ever be. So he could write better jokes and handle that better than I could. But yeah, those are the three. And then that's why it took me a little bit of time to break away and become me. And I just had a guy tell me one time, and he used the word robotic. And he goes, Zan Monyo, I don't know if you remember him, but he was out before you got there, I think. But he's like, yeah, his parents at the show, and they're like, they'd seen me doing that and then saw me when I'd shed it a little bit. And he's like, yeah, my parents thought you were way better this time. And I'm like, oh, okay. It was kind of this crystallized moment where I'm like, okay, maybe because what I was doing, I was laughing at my jokes. And not the only one laughing at my jokes, but I was having fun, and I wasn't having fun. I was that character where I'm like, everything has to be dry because my jokes will work better that way. Didn't matter about that. The jokes weren't good. So I just had to write better jokes and have fun doing it. So, but it took a little bit.
Yeah, I'm still working on that, writing better jokes.
Yeah, so am I.
You never stop trying.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that happens for me now is I get to the better joke quicker than I did 3 years ago, but it's still very, very rarely that first thought. But it's okay, I can find the funny in the idea much faster than when I first started, I think.
Were you ever trying to be someone, or who do you look up to in general?
I don't know if I was consciously emulating anybody. I mean, you would probably know better. You saw everything up front. But I don't think I was really aping anyone's voice.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's always been pretty much myself. As far as my favorites change every 2 years as I see more comedy. It started off with I remember we went to go see him, Mark Norman. It was so quick. And now it's I watch it and it's kind of boring. It's okay, it's just the same thing he's been doing. There's no evolution. I don't feel like I know this man after watching him do comedy.
Yeah.
But then it's then you see Caitlin Palufo, it's oh, she's chaotic and she's also joke. And now I feel like I've had a beer with her after I watch her set. So for me, it's finding something else to latch onto in that set is changing what I appreciate about comedy, the comedy I take in. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I got to, okay.
Well, it's the same. Do you ever get bored of your jokes?
I get bored of Steve's jokes all the time.
Yeah.
No, but I saying the same thing over and over again. And people being surprised, what I've seen online is audience members being surprised that people say the same jokes.
Yes.
And how do you kind of get over that and stay interested?
For me, it's the jokes usually evolve. So Steve and I both run shows, so we put pressure on ourselves. I've talked to Steve before. Yeah, I know, but we put pressure on ourselves to keep writing new material. And since we host the shows we produce, then there's an obligation. We feel at least that if you're going to charge $5, $10, $15, $25, whatever it is, and people come in to see you a second time, they get a whole new show. So I don't feel it's right for me to charge $20 on a ticket and then deliver the same 15 minutes that somebody's already seen before and then get an hour and 15 minutes worth of a new show. I want them to get as close to a 90-minute new show as possible. So you put pressure on yourselves to write more and deliver it that way. And the way you can do it is, one, you keep writing, or you take the joke and you've already done it, right? And then you put it aside, write more. And then 6 months later, 8 months later, you bring that joke back, rewrite it a little bit. Maybe there's a tag. Maybe there's some sort of audience interaction that you've had that inspires you to alter this joke. Maybe you can have a new lead into it or a new ending. whatever. Open up to the crowd. And there's ways to tweak it and liven it up so that you kind of fall in love with the joke again. Like I have a joke now where, you know, it's about, and it's dark, but it's about, the middle of the joke is about my dog being put down. And, you know, and I have to brace people. I'm like, hey, this is a dark joke. If it was my kid, they'd be fine with it. But nobody wants to hear about a dead dog, you know? But like what I've done, just a little bit of a tweak, is to introduce the dog's name. And his name's Chinaski. And I say, does anybody know where Chinaski is from? And somebody will say, oh, it's a reference from a Bukowski novel. Or it's a Bukowski character, whatever. And so I'm like, yeah, that's my girlfriend's dog. My cats are named after It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia characters because I don't read. And just that alone will like, oh, okay, that's a new thing. So maybe it can reinvest people. Or, hey, I like It's Always Sunny too. Or I hate reading. You know, so I don't know. It's like a little trick for me. Because I think that the trick to doing that, to doing stuff years after years or months after months, whatever it is to keep falling back in love with your joke. Because then you won't be seen as going through the motions. You can't tell that I'm bored with the same 6 lines in this joke. That's what I do, at least.
Yeah, and also you find old ideas that now you didn't know how to write it then.
Yeah, you're
you know,
better
for whatever
writer.
reason, like I had this idea, but I didn't have the perspective on how to close it, or you know, and then you write another joke, like, oh wait, that works with this, and you can bring it back, and then both sides of it grow.
Yeah.
And then I found just moving something around in a set list. Like I had a joke I used to do at the close to the end of a set, it never worked. Then I moved it into like when I first started, I thought everything had to be very like linear. So these were jokes about this ex-girlfriend, and these were jokes about this ex-girlfriend. It's like, oh no, for the sake of these 40 people, it's all the same ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
And once I realized, like, oh, you can kind of play with timelines. No one's going to check your math. No one gives a shit. You know,
Yeah.
It's like, did I laugh? Great. Otherwise, they don't care.
And when you're just starting out doing comedy, you suck. Like, no matter how well you think you didn't do as well as you did. No matter how talented you aren't as talented. You're going to evolve. You're going to become a better writer. And I think I told Steve many times, like the jokes you write in your first year, when you're in your second or third year, you're going to look back and say, what the fuck was I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're going to be a better writer. So like go back, doctor this up because you now know how to write jokes a little bit better. And then 2 years from then, you're going to do the same thing. And you know, you don't have to throw away your material. Like there are a lot of premises I have where I'm not going to spoil the joke, and I don't think it's perfect yet. It's getting better. But I think 6 years ago maybe, I wrote a joke about Where's Waldo. Nobody gives a fuck about Waldo. You know, like it's not the 90s anymore.
Yeah.
But I bring it back every once in a while. I'm like, because I like it. And I'm like, how can I fix this? And now I got 2 really good parts of that joke to work. And I'm like, all right. And then I might put it away in a month and dig it up 4 years from now and figure out the ending to it. But I'm not going to throw it away because like, eventually I'll be good enough of a writer or smart enough as a person to figure out that code and to get it to work all the way through. So
What
kind
do
of
you
fun
mean by
part of me.
put it away?
I just don't do it anymore.
Where do
So-
you keep it that you stay organized?
Oh, Google Docs and
Okay.
everything. So I'm not incredibly organized with that, but Google Docs, all you have to do is search for a word or 2 words together. Like I'll put Where's Waldo, and then what I do is every set list I have, I organize it. I write everything. I write all my jokes word for word, and then I'll go back and I'll edit it and I'll change it. I might not always say it word for word or how I wrote it, but it's there. And then I have a set list with, let's say I'm doing 10 jokes, and it might be 2 or 3 pages long, but it's 10 jokes. And then I bold the writing, and I put a set list like, Where's Waldo? Tight alibi. A bit gay, like 3 jokes and up there. So I know which ones I've done at which place. So if I did a show at Crooked Mouth, I'm doing, Crooked Mouth Comedy Night, March 4th, 2024. I know when I did a show or when I did a joke, where I did a joke, and which jokes I did with it. So when I'm doing my shows, I can make sure that I don't repeat the joke, with a don't tell crowd. I know who's seen me before. So I can kind of curate that set list so nobody there has seen this joke. So like the joke about my grandma, new to everybody. We're all, pleased. So that's how I keep that organized. I've toyed around with the idea of doing an Excel sheet and organizing that way, or doing all the jokes alphabetical or by topic. I just don't think I have the focus to
You don't
do all
have that kind of autism?
Oh, no. I've probably written, 5,000 jokes or whatever, and I don't have the time to go through everything, but I should.
Yeah. Well, that's what from the beginning, I put it all in a Google Doc.
Yeah.
And now I'm like complete chaos with my organization. I have a Google Doc, I have my notes app, and then I have an app called Bits that I read about on Reddit that I actually like pay for a subscription, because that can do like a headline, and then it can do like what the joke is on the inside.
Oh, nice.
And you click on it and you can organize it into set lists. And I do not use that as well as I should, because I'm not always writing on my phone, because I
Yeah.
also have a joke notebook, which is what I do like at open mics. I write down my set for an open mic and try to make it with as many
Yeah.
new jokes as possible. But I do this like half an hour, because I'm also a person that does well under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to make it, and it's why my open mic sets aren't that great.
Yeah.
For me, I can't write at home. I get too
struggle,
distracted.
yeah.
There's kids, there's chores, there's cats, there's cable television, so I always go to
Cable?
all... Yeah.
Netflix? Yeah.
I watch sports, honey.
Okay.
So I always go to the open mics like 2.5 hours early, because then all I have distracting is like in my hand. At least, it's just the phone and Jerry, but he's easy to tune out.
Yeah.
So it's like I can like get supper and work on, and all week I'll write down ideas, but I won't flesh anything out until I'm sitting at the bar right beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to sit down at a computer. I don't think I've ever had a joke notebook. I think
I haven't.
I started with a notes app on my phone, and I've got a bunch of stuff there, like pages of whatever, and then I switched over to Google Docs. And to be honest, I don't know why it took me so long to switch to Google Docs or use Google Docs, because Google Docs came out when I was still writing at a newspaper, and it was like the key to doing any remote work. We switched to Google Docs so everybody could see everybody's writing right away, and I could edit anything that was off-site. We didn't need to log into the system. We just had to have the same Google account. And
It's just funny because
my God,
that
it's
came
great.
out when I was in high school. And
Yeah, thank you.
It was big for us.
well,
It
yeah.
was-
So, but that would have been probably 2011, maybe. Was that around? Yeah.
I was in ninth grade.
Yeah, because I stopped writing as a reporter in 2013. And before then, you had to log into a VPN network and access everything. And then you still had to do it a little bit. But Google Docs, everything was there, and we could, it was so nice. I didn't have to go to the office early to set everything up. I could do it from home. It was fantastic. But I should have been doing that from the start, because you have it on your phone.
Yeah.
So that's why I do Google Docs, is because I can write in paragraph form with 2 hands on a keyboard, and then it'll save automatically. And no matter where I am, as long as I have the internet signal, I can see every joke. The problem is, every once in a while, I don't put my laptop screen down, so my cat has sat on the screen and thrown in like 16 exclamation points and a Q into one of my jokes. And frustratingly, that usually gets a better laugh
That is
than what
pretty.
I wrote.
This would be great clips for all the Google heads out there. They're
Yeah.
gonna love this.
So now to our sponsor, Google Drive. No, but that is funny. That's funny. Your cat does that
Oh, yeah.
too. Because I take my boyfriend's phone and I go into
Here
his
she
group
goes.
chat, and then I type the word poop and I leave it there,
Yeah.
and then I see if he accidentally sends
Yep.
it. So it's like the same thing with cats.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you are a cat.
Yeah, exactly. I have to be like a cat. I was gonna ask about pre-show ritual. Do you ever do anything to get yourself excited to go talk in front of people?
No, I'm always ready to talk. It's my default mode is annoying. So
Not anymore. I used to, and I think over time you just get better at it, but I used to really rehearse a lot. And I just don't, I perform a whole lot more than I used to. So it's kind of more innate now. And I've memorized quicker than I used to. But I've also, become less robotic. So I don't feel as attached to that preposition as I thought it was necessary. So, but I used to run or walk around my apartment maybe an hour and a half before I left, making sure I had every word memorized so it's open mic, and I timed myself and make sure these transitions were good, and I could just memorize everything and everything was smooth. I don't do that anymore. I just have the jokes, like I'll build a set list down in my office and I'm like, yep, that's good. I'll make sure it's on my phone and I'm set. So then I'll finish watching whatever I was watching and then go. So no, I just don't. I think I probably shed that too, where I'm like, I don't need that.
Yeah, I've long given up on memorizing a set list. I know the jokes.
Yeah.
But God, it's because I write such short jokes. Like you write longer.
Yeah.
Most of my jokes are not one-liners, but they're short jokes. And so I'm always adding like one or two lines into an existing thing. And God, I'll never remember where I put it in. So I always have a set list because I know otherwise I'll stand here looking like a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Well, more of an idiot than I typically do.
Isn't that the goal with comedy? You want to look a little stupid?
Yeah. You got to give people permission to laugh with you.
Yeah. But I need segues, otherwise the memorization is out the door. Like I need some key word in my head to know what I'm going to say. And that could just because
we got you.
I'm only like 4 years into this, so I just haven't done the jokes enough, but it's the memorization is tricky for me because I also like get really nervous. So I did a pre-show ritual the other day. I was backstage at Buffalo Comedy Collective. Rachel Days was there with me, and I was like, I'm going to do a cartwheel. And she was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I need to do a cartwheel.
Rachel's
here.
like, I need to film this.
Yeah. So I put my phone down, and I did film myself doing a cartwheel, but then 5 minutes later, my heart rate was at like 130, so I was doing meditative breathing, and she was like, what are you doing now? So it's just like that craziness. It really helps because it was a good set. So I've also like done a handstand before a set before because I was really nervous, and I've done wall sits like that. Is that crazy? I just need effort.
Long planks. Yeah, I'm big into physical fitness. No. But I'm the same as you. Like, it'll be 5 years for me next week.
Yeah.
Aww,
so
happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah. But like Mike, like I also used to rehearse a lot more. And now it's
you should
like
rehearse more.
I know I should, but no. I've got a general idea now of where I'm going to go, and I don't have the nerves of. I've realized more often than not, if you fuck up, you're the only one who's going to know. And maybe Mike, because he's seen me do it so many times. But people in the crowd don't realize you forgot a tag.
Yeah.
What's funny is like people don't care. Like you put so much pressure on yourself to be perfect. Nobody expects you to be perfect. And if you fuck up, you know what I did recently where I forget where I was, but I did a joke, I screwed it up, and I hadn't done it in a while, and I was like cocky, and I'm like, not cocky, but like I didn't think enough to like read over the joke. I was like, I've told this so many times. And I screwed it up. And I was in Mansfield and Pennsylvania. And I said to them, I'm like, hey, I'd screwed up the joke, and I'm like, oh my God, I've never screwed that up before. I said, hold on, pretend you didn't hear that. I promise you it's worth it. And I did the joke, and it killed. And I'm like, okay, so if you admit, like, hey, we're all here. We all saw this happen, right? Okay, this is a unique show. Let's do it again. Now they're all in on it. And they're rooting for you. They want to laugh.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless it's another comedian, they're all going to be on your side. So, yeah, I mean, comedy's funny because, like, it's a job. I mean, you have to work hard at it. But, like, you don't have to take it super seriously when you're on stage.
Yeah.
Because the goal is to get people to have a good time and to laugh. So.
I had a recovery the other day when I forgot. This was at an open mic, so I wrote that joke like the day before, and I was on stage, and I was like, what was the punchline again?
Yeah.
And then paused, and then was like, wait, no, it's coming, I got it. And then like I eventually got the joke, but after at least 15 seconds of an awkward silence because it was an open mic.
Yeah.
It didn't.
Yeah, who cares?
And then I had the host, Connor Mink, come up to me and he was like, you should actually do that. Like, you should rehearse that and add that into your set and, like, ask the audience what the punchline
Yeah.
is. Because I think that's kind of funny.
You know what I did? I close a lot of times with a joke about a bidet and how, just I couldn't hook it in and whatever. And I'm not a real man. I had to ask my dad to come over. And I made the mistake one time, and I wish I was rolling a camera. I got to get a better camera. But the joke is about my dad hooking it up into my bathroom. And I said, so my dad was hooking it into the sink, or in the kitchen. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? And it got such a big laugh that I thought to myself, I'm like, maybe I could intentionally fuck that up to get that laugh. And I didn't do that. And then a couple nights ago, I did the joke again, and I said kitchen again. And like, I didn't stick with it, but I like corrected it fast. And I'm like, and it reminded me, I'm like, wait a minute, you got a huge laugh, like just by making a mistake. And I always forget about that stuff. Like, if I fuck up, people laugh. Like, maybe that's a way for me to do it intentionally.
Yeah.
And like coax another one out of them. I just don't think about, I don't think hard about retaining that, and I should.
Yeah. I know what you mean, because when you're in a show, you got to remember to write it down, but there's so much else going on. So,
Yeah, I can never remember someone's set an hour and a half after I see it. Be like, oh man, you did one joke I loved.
I hate
which
that.
one?
I hate that.
I will never know. I will die not
Yeah.
knowing what joke of yours I loved.
I've done that so many times where you're complimenting them and they're like, oh, like there's a joke about, oh my God. It's like, was it this one? No, forget it. And you're just like, it just, to me, I feel like, oh, he just thinks I'm buttering him up to get on the next show or something like that. It's like, no, I really was trying to be nice and I couldn't do it. Maybe it's my brain be like, you don't want to be nice. We don't want you to be nice.
shifting into talking about producing shows, both of you guys run shows. What got you started in that?
Nobody was booking me. Legit,
Yeah,
like
I
that's.
believe it. Yeah.
I was doing. I'm 10 years in, and back then we didn't have a whole lot of shows locally in Binghamton, and maybe one or two groups were doing anything, and you go to the open mic and I don't think I knew back then. It was 2016. Nothing exciting was happening in the world or the country. Nobody was running for president or whatever. But like you get into comedy not thinking like, not really thinking about, oh, how do I get on this local show? I was like, how do I get into Conan?
Yeah.
Like it was like I didn't know there were steps to get to Conan. I just figured, oh, Conan's going to see my open mics at one day, so I'll go. And then like people are introduced as like, hey, Stephen Brown is coming up stage. He's going to be performing at the Brass Rail. Make it loud for Stephen Brown. And you're like, what the hell's the Brass Rail? And so many people were introduced on the same show in Scranton that I'm like, how do I get in the fucking show in Scranton? And that's when I was like, okay, well, Mike is doing this and Steve is doing that and Kat is doing that. So how do I do that? And then eventually I saw it so many times where I'm like, well, I think I'm working harder than them. Nobody's asking me. And at the time, the place we were doing something was Matty B's in Binghamton, and they, had a calendar that was open. Anybody who wanted to book a show just needed to ask the manager, the owner rather, if they could. And he said, yeah. He's like, yeah. And then we put a show together, and then I was like, oh, that seems easy. So I'll just run my own shows, and nobody could tell me not to book me. So I did that, and then eventually I formed a comedy group, and we did shows together, and then I went off on my own and did more. So that was really it. Like nobody was booking me, and I figured that was a way for me to network with people and get my name out there. It didn't fucking work that well, but I definitely networked. I just didn't, lead into me getting booked more. But yeah, and then I kind of found my own groove there. So it was, I don't know, I feel like it was like a necessity for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I got into it basically from starting here. We have a buddy who is friends with the owners. They're interested in doing comedy, so he was like, "Oh, Steve will run an open mic for you." And then it was fun, and I was like, "Do you guys want to try to do a real show?" Because I've been friends with Mike, watching him do it. So I basically just ripped off his whole template, And then I did a festival, starting the festival up here. Did a festival down the fucking Hudson Valley that was just terrible. Just an awful experience, like a real bait and switch on what was being offered. And I was like, well, I can do better than that, And so I was like, I came back here that Tuesday. I was like, you guys want to try this? They're like, yeah, pick a weekend. And that was it.
Success.
Yeah. And then, we're working on the third year coming up. And it's, and it's not one of those crazy festivals where it's like, we don't have a huge budget. There's not industry, but it's a dope networking. I can make sure that you're on shows with people from other scenes you may not have met or wouldn't have met. And, and I see people who linked up at the festival doing each other's shows in their different towns. And it's like, okay, well, that's the benefit of it.
Yeah.
You're going to come here, you're going to have a room full of 55 people who are ready to laugh. And it's going to be a good hang. And how many people are using their tape from that festival to submit to other things now? Or like you see comics that are like heroes of yours using clips that they shot at your spot. And it's like, oh, that's like so validating anytime you see it happen,
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to just riff off the Kmart parking lot.
Yeah, the abandoned Kmart and the McDonald's, and the one bathroom. They play all the hits. It's like going to a Wego and be like, I thought this was awesome Wego.
Yeah.
You fucking hack.
Oh, my God.
But they love it every time.
Every time. They're simple people.
Yep.
What's wrong with a Wego? That's a personal question.
Nothing's wrong, yeah.
I stayed there last night. I got a hotel in Owego, and it was just because I don't have I had credit card points, and it was cheap. So
it's a Hilton.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a Hilton Honors member.
Of course.
So, but there was just weird things happening. Someone was watching me walk into the hotel, and
they can tell you're not from there. That's
why. Well, if the hotel doesn't give that away.
Yeah, that's true.
But also, just at breakfast this morning, someone was talking to himself, and at first I thought he was talking to someone else, but everyone else was staring at him, and a little unsteady.
There's mentally unwell people everywhere. It's not just Owego.
Okay.
I know. My girlfriend is from central Pennsylvania. She lived in Delaware for a while, and she's like, "Listen, everybody here's a crackhead." I'm like, "That's not true." And she's like, "Well, I was at Bella's. It's like a mini mart here. It's like a halal place." She goes, "Well, I was there and somebody's peeing on the handle." I'm like, "Well, some people are crackheads, but not everybody."
Yeah. But when you first started producing shows, what went wrong? Do you have any stories about what went wrong or really right, or any funny moments from that?
I remember learning, not necessarily a huge thing, but every show for the first 6 months, I was like, oh, got to do that different this time. It's no matter how many times you watch it, you're never going to anticipate the right things. And it's funny, I see other people who are starting to produce shows, and I see them focusing so much on making sure the guy has his drink tickets as soon as he shows up. But they also didn't know where they were going to set up the stage before they showed up. It's like you got to walk before you run. I remember we didn't have stage lights initially. And eventually it's like, oh, wow, you look at this it's dark as hell. It's something that costs you $90, it really enhances the experience. Or, oh, hey, we sold 70 tickets. We need to make sure we have a third person here to seat people. Because we only have XY chairs. And you got to tell people when they're walking in, you're making friends tonight.
Yeah.
You can't just let... I went to a wedding once that didn't have assigned seating. What a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
Sorry, that always stuck with me.
That is... Yeah, who wouldn't do that? That's a bold move, especially with family drama. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But yeah, I don't think anything big went wrong. The first show we had here, we way oversold. We had 77 people in this room. It was great. You mean Josh?
Yeah. Biggest mistake I made in my first show was I headlined it, because that was how we were told to do it. Comedy wasn't as prevalent as it is now in this area. So when you worked out material at Matty B's, the goal was to showcase what you did. And the owner said, what you got to do is you headline your first show. So I got Bill Lake, who's like and Tori Seward. I think they're the only two comedians on the show. Yeah, because one of them is Helen Fraser, and oh my God, I can never remember her name, and she died. I'll remember it. I feel bad, but Tori and Bill Lake are very funny, and they were funnier than I was then. And then I was the least funny one on the show, but that was how I was told to do it. And we did well, we sold well, and a lot of people came out to see me, which is great, and they never came back again because I wasn't good. But it was a good learning experience, and I've never headlined. Oh no, I'm sorry, I did it one more time in April of the next year, but then I have not headlined anything I did ever again because kind of, I don't know, my ego wasn't, it was bigger then than it is now, I guess. But that's something everybody in Binghamton had done up until then, was like, you headline the show and then you built around it. And then after that, I'm like, no, what if I host the show? And then I could have a little more control on what's happening. So, that was the biggest mistake I made. And then when we started doing shows in different venues, we didn't have a good enough speaker. So we had a very small portable speaker that my buddy Seth Ruddick had lent me. And we were doing bigger rooms with like shitty equipment. And the stage lighting was fine because we had lights, above. But sound wasn't good. And we were drawing people, but not repeat customers because probably the sound wasn't good enough to hear from where they're sitting. And I'd do another show and it was dark or whatever. And so I made all these excuses and I didn't have the money to do it really, but if I probably could have figured it out to buy all the equipment and then put on the show. And like he said, there are a lot of things you got to think about. And comedians, I found, people in general, but we're very impatient to get on stage. And we don't want to write 5 minutes of good jokes before we get on stage. We want to do the show first and then maybe never have to write again or never have to go to the open mic again. But you have to do all that stuff. You have to go and watch. There's a comedian who's very funny, but he wasn't then. He had never even seen a local show, and he'd done 4 open mics and wanted to. I was trying to get a room at the bar of the corner of Wego, and he wanted it too. And I got irritated. I'm like, he's never done a show before, never been to a show. And he came to one of my shows to see, and he got hammered. And I'm like, you did nothing. You did nothing. I mean, he's just an idiot. But he was young. He was impatient, and I understood it. But it just helps to wait and make sure you have everything ready to go before you worry about the material. Because when you're producing, you have to separate yourself a little bit. You got to be a producer and a comedian. So you almost have to be selfless, as put the comedian part on hold a little bit to make sure that the show is enjoyable for everybody, because it's not just you people are watching. It's 3 or 4 other comedians behind you or around you, however you're going to set the show. You have to make sure that they're all in a position to succeed. The audience is in a position to enjoy the show, then worry about your shit. So, yeah, it's just, a lot of people don't do that.
And as the host, I mean, if you book a good show behind you, people are not going to be remembering you unless you really killed or really ate shit. Otherwise, they're going to think about how funny the headliner was.
Right.
If you put on a good show and you do your job, no one's going to remember you were there.
Yeah.
And I only booked myself to headline once.
Right.
So.
Hey.
Yeah.
I got you 2-1.
Hell yeah.
I'm not in this race.
that means you won.
That means don't start promoting.
No, because I produced 2 shows for my master's program, and I can't say they were successful, but I can say I got an A in the class.
That's success.
And that's all I needed. But I learned I was taking tickets at the door. I was trying to learn the lessons, and it definitely made me a better comedian because I had to think about all the logistics.
Oh, yeah.
One of the shows, I said, hey, this is half open, it's partially open space, so everyone has to be clean. And 3 out of 4 of the comedians were not completely clean. And I was just happy that the space that I made a deal with was not listening at the time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no one cared. It was in downtown Rochester. Homeless people walk into that hotel
Yeah,
anyways.
yeah.
So it was one of those things like, I am way more respectful now that I've seen the behind the scenes and like the setting up, the cleaning up, just all of it. It's a lot of work.
We've
So
both said it so many times that everyone in the comedy scene should host an open mic. They should run a show. Because once you've done those things and realize how like annoying it can be very rewarding. Well, not hosting an open mic,
Yeah.
but like running shows can be very rewarding and it can be like a lot of fun. But goddamn, you respect when you go somewhere and you see it being done well.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a lot of perspective. Like, oh, and I showed up unprepared, and now I see all the work that they did.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, it's cyclical. Like I go on this thing. I've been hosting the open mic for 10 years, and Binghamton was still is, but maybe not as much. It was such an apathetic scene that I entered the scene and we had like 20 plus active comedians, and one person, they didn't have a regular host for the open mic, but they just had somebody who would volunteer to host, and then maybe the next week too. And then there's a group chat with everybody in there saying, anybody want to host the open mic this week? And then you'd wait a little while and somebody would finally volunteer. And I started in July, and in October, I volunteered to host it. I think October, maybe November, but I think it was October. But I volunteered to host it. I had fun. And it helped me. I shook everybody's hand, and I was untimed because I'm the guy with the light. And so I did instead of 5 or 6, I did 7 or 8. And I was able to get that joke across. And I don't know if it worked, but I was able to finish what I wrote. And I riffed between people, just like a joke here and there. And it was so much fun. And I was asked to host it again. I'm like, yeah, I'd love it. And then the third week came around, and I said, I wouldn't mind doing this on a regular basis. And the producer's like, yeah, go for it. Probably worst mistake I ever made in my life. Because I've 9 years later, 9 and change later, I'm still hosting it. And I've just moved it from mic to mic. But I get into a cycle where I hate it. I hate my role in the scene because I feel like nobody gives a shit. And I know people do, but it's hard to remember that because I set up for the open mic and I feel like nobody's talking to me. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I'll be sitting alone. Everybody's talking to each other. I'm like, all right, I'm just working on my jokes. And I'm not the most sociable person. I'm there to do a job. But I'm like, okay, nobody gives a fuck. And every single time. Same with shows. I'll go in there and I'm kind of in my head and I'm setting up the equipment and people are having fun with each other and then they'll leave without saying goodbye sometimes. I'm like, all right, cool. So I really get in a rut with that stuff. And it's
do
very
hosts
tough.
want us to say goodbye? Because I feel like a lot of
Yes.
comedians just
Yeah.
Irish
no,
goodbye it.
No, Irish goodbye sucks. When you book somebody to do a show and you pay them.
Are we talking about shows or mics?
Well, both. I mean, I feel like if you don't have to come up and grovel at an open mic, thank you, dear leader, for doing this. But it's hey, Mike, bye, Mike. That's cool.
Yeah.
And an occasional thanks for doing this because I don't get paid for the open mic, and a lot of hosts don't get paid for the open mic. Maybe the smart ones do. There you go. How are you getting paid? I told you, make sure you get paid.
did you?
I think so. Yeah.
Thanks for that.
I tell everybody.
It's funny. I did it for free for the first year. I only got paid when we went to twice a month.
That's right.
Now I'm going back to once a month.
That's
So I still get it. Thanks, Sean.
But but yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just a way of saying thanks for doing this, and it could be, if the host is on stage, in Binghamton, we usually take photos of comedians who are at the mic, and I'll take a photo of the host because it's something, it's because I think the host is host producer is the forgotten person most times, and when you're on a show and you're paying somebody, I expect you to say, hey, thanks for booking me.
Yeah.
Thanks for paying me $100 or whatever it is. I don't know, but I get the only time I get really mad at comedians, if they bomb, whatever happens. But when you leave without saying goodbye, I'm like, fuck off. It's they have some manners.
Yeah.
So yeah, but comedians by mass are not the most respectful of people.
Yeah. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think also, I mean, just watching how you do separate yourself.
Oh, I do.
So
Yeah.
it's half a byproduct of
Yep.
your.
At the open mic, I stand at the bar. Everybody's congregated at a table. And I'm at the bar because I'm not going to get up and I take photos. I'm always on my feet. I can't sit down at the open mic. Like I'm much more comfortable standing. So that's part. So I know a lot of it's self-inflicted, but it's like it's part of my neuroses where it's like, okay, well, the world sucks. The world doesn't like me or whatever, and that's something I deal with every day. So that's the part of my anxiety and depression.
Yeah. Well,
That's also just the difference in our personality types.
Yeah.
It's I'm shamelessly gregarious.
Yeah. Yeah, I've talked to Steve about this. He messages people every day saying how they are. He checks in on them. I'm not wired.
Every day?
Someone, yeah.
I'm not like that. I feel like if I ask you how you're doing, I feel like I have to have a reason, like a motive, like, hey, do you want to do this? Can I borrow this? Like, I feel like just talking to check in, I would feel like they're like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? What? Stop interrupting me. Like, my whole default is that I am interrupting you, and I don't want to do that.
I remember once we had a mutual comedy friend.
Yeah.
And the guy had to jump off the show.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, well, he's been having a hard time. He's like, well, how do you know that? I was like, well, I met him at your show. He's like, yeah, but why are you talking to him? I was like, because we liked each other. We just became friends.
And I was like, who has the time in their day for more friends?
Yeah.
Like, it's weird. Like, that's my mindset. Like,
I
always.
just have to spend hours just being sad, and I can't text anyone during that.
Yeah.
So how am I supposed to reach out?
Yeah. You have way more things to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just and part of this too is like when I get home from a show, kind of don't want to talk comedy. Like, I've got to, my girlfriend will ask, how everybody did or whatever, and once that's done, okay, I'm good, and we do like the drama involved, and like, okay, like, let's see what's happening in Buffalo or Scranton. That's always fun stuff. But yeah, for the most part, I'm like, I'm good with it. Like, I left it at the mic, I left it at the show, and my therapist hears all of it. So she's like, that's why I pay her.
Yeah. She probably loves it too, though.
She does. She knows all the characters for sure. Yeah.
Starting to wrap this up, what is one piece of blunt, honest advice that you have for anyone looking to get into comedy?
When you have 10 minutes, you really have 5. When you think you have 15, you really have 8. When you think you have 20, you might have 12. You never have as much time as you think you do.
I'm a visual learner. Can I get that written out? Can we get a whiteboard?
I've started, when I'm booking the shows now, if I think someone has 15 minutes, I'm giving them 10. I'm starting to shorten the bus, make the show better, make the sets tighter.
That's good.
Outside of the headliner.
I think the producer, it's smart to know the comic and know that they don't have 15 minutes, because everyone I talk to in comedy that's like, yeah, I have 20 minutes, they don't. Like, they are exaggerating. Like, yeah. Yeah,
like, I can talk for an hour. I shouldn't. I know that. Yeah. Like, it's great that I'm getting booked to do 45 and I get to headline sometimes. That's fantastic. It's a little more than I can give you a competent 45. It's not going to be great. And I appreciate there's people willing to give me the time to learn how to do it, because you're never going to get there if you don't have the chance. And that's one thing Mike is really great about, is like giving people that chance to grow. But I don't have that patience for my show.
Yeah. I wouldn't do it this way, and this is not, well, maybe this is my advice, it's not my blunt advice, but I typically, I trust the comedians to do a good job, so I don't light usually at shows unless they want it. But part of that is I've vetted and if I have new comedians who I don't think can do 15 or 20 minutes, I always have the headliner who can do 45 or clean up the mess. Like, they'll be good enough that, like, if these guys go 2 minutes extra and with nonsense, doesn't fucking matter. We'll make sure it's good, or I'll do longer, and I'll pull out old material that I know is going to kill, just to make sure to mask, a weaker lineup or something like that. And you also have I've got the benefit of having several rooms around the area, so I can try people out in this room. I was like, okay, well, I can do a 4-person show in this room, so I can give you a chance. kind of an audition for another room where I have 3 people, and you'd have to do 20 minutes instead of 15. So, that's what I like to do. So it lets me get away with some of that stuff.
And also write, but also don't be afraid to repeat jokes.
Yeah.
I will never book someone if all I hear is a new 5 at every open mic that isn't that great. Take your 1 minute from that one that worked before and do it again with the other ones. Like, build a set. Like a newer person be like, well, how will we know when we're ready for a show? How do I know when to ask? Like, don't.
Yeah.
We are watching you every week. When we think you're ready, we will ask you.
My blunt advice is work. You have to work. You can't. There are ways around doing open mics and getting on shows. You can book yourself. You can book shows. You're going to look like shit on those shows. You might hate open mics. You have to do them. You just have to. Otherwise, you're not going to grow. You're not going to find the comedians that you should if you're not part of that scene. And it frustrates me to no end to be at an open mic and introduce everybody's credits, where they're going to be, and the person who is running that show doesn't come to the open mics at all. It kills me. And I'm competitive, and part of me says, well, if you're not going to put in the fucking work to go to the open mic, why the fuck should you be running that show? I should be doing that show. I should be doing that. I'm never going to be able to separate myself from that. And as a guy who's watched comedy happen and whatever, a pat on my back, I've helped improve the comedy in this area.
Without a doubt. Not even just this area, this region.
But it frustrates me a lot to see people taking shortcuts. And there's always every producer who's been doing a little while will say bad comedy can kill comedy all over the place. Mm-hmm. Local comedy, if it's bad, will ruin audiences for the future. There are rooms where this new comedian in Binghamton, he wasn't good enough to get booked. He was really, really new and inexperienced, just shitty jokes, racist jokes. I mean, listen, anytime you're a white comedian talking about big lips, you're probably doing the wrong joke. Mm-hmm. And he did a show in Corning, an hour away, at what I think is probably a good place. And they booked a comedy show there, and he was disenfranchised, he was pissed off, and he booked a bunch of people who had never really been booked. I get it. I get the motivation.
Yeah, he went where the homies, not for the...
Absolutely. Yeah. And he got one competent comedian with him who's been doing comedy more than 6 months. And Abdul Hadi is great. He's fantastic. Yes. But Abdul is not... Nobody can save a show where your first hour sucked. So I did the show, and apparently it didn't go well. But the guy moved to Florida, and so you guys could put it together eventually. But moved to Florida, and I reached out maybe 6 months later to that bar in Corning, and I said, would you like to do comedy there? And he goes, we tried it. I think he said, we tried it once, and it was dreadful. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's a synonym. Yeah. But it was just terrible. And yeah, I wanted that venue, but to get their response, I'm like, cool. I'll take it. But you could sink it. And the first couple years, I was trying to get venues for myself. I would go into a place that had done comedy before, and I would have to apologize for the comedians who did comedy there before, because they would have sex with the bartender, and I'm like, listen, I'm really good at not having sex with the bartender. Ask around. And but their clientele would start fights, and they'd piss people off, and I'm like, it became my job to apologize for a whole scene that came, and these are guys I never really worked with, and one of whom is still one's dead, but a lot of comedians in my life die. But one, I've never worked with him, still active, and it's a shame. But they can fuck up a room and comedy for everybody, and thankfully, bars open up all the time, so you can try again. but it's frustrating. So it's like if you go and work out material and try to be a competent comedian before you start doing open. I'm guilty of it. I was up before. I produced before I should have. So I'm speaking to, you know, I would have told my younger self to stop panicking and just wait in line, but it's frustrating.
It's also different when you learn from your mistakes. The people that go up there every week and do the same thing and they're never going to change. Yeah.
I mean, but also, I know the way I look at it as if Mike has a great show down at, the place down North Street, I can't think of it right now, anyone who went to that show and had a good time might come across a poster for what we're doing here and be like, oh, that was fun. Mm-hmm. I'll go to that one. Like, it's not necessarily a competition. It can be if you've got the wrong attitude, but like, if I have a good show here and 50 people have a great time, they're more likely to see Mike's poster for a Wednesday night and be like, oh, you know what? I'd love it. We went to go see it there. Let's go check out this one. Because to them, it's not like we're all local comics. They don't care about the person's name on the poster. They don't, it's like, this is comedy in Endicott or Binghamton or Johnson City. If they're having fun at one, they're more likely to go to any of them. And if they have a terrible time at one, they're going to think it's all the same.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny. People will forgive. I love Louis C.K. People will forgive Louis C.K. for anything he did eventually in time. But they will never, if they went to a local comedy show and it was bad, it's bad forever. It doesn't, and it doesn't matter. Because, like, I think it was you who said, I don't remember. My brain's all over the place. But, like, people don't know local comedy exists. And it's been in their backyard for 10 years, let's say. They don't know. But the first time they ever see comedians, they're, oh, really? It's like, yeah. Like, they just don't know. So, like, I don't know. It just frustrates me that, like, you work so hard and, like, people don't know what's happening. And then they finally figure it out. And they get one bad taste and, like, fuck it. This is why people don't know about it. It's like, no. Like, they don't know there's 30 comedians. They don't know that we're bringing in people from Rochester, Buffalo, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre. They don't know that, like, every show is different. And there are different varieties, so like, I mean, try them all, I guess. But like, I don't know, just because Steve does, you could fucking hate a joke that I did, but love something that Steve did. So like, I don't want to be the guy to turn you off from comedy in general. Like it's just frustrating, but that's kind of what happens.
Or like when that Jeffrey Osmus who performed here, he had that one clip go like over 1 million views, and I read through all the comments, and so many of them were like, there's comedy in Binghamton?
Yeah.
Like, you fucking crotch. Yeah. We've been doing this for 2 years. There's comedy in Binghamton. Like,
well, even one time I was sitting at a coffee house in Buffalo, and the table next to me, there were 2 girls, and they were like, what do you want to do tonight? And they were like, we could go see a comedy show. And then they immediately look up Helium, and nothing about local comedy, but that's their whole, they're like, who is this guy?
Which is a shame, because like Buffalo has the best comedians outside of New York City. That scene is so good. It's I get a lot of headliners from Buffalo. They probably have more headliners than any other scene combined. And it's quality. And a lot of those guys are working at Helium every once in a while. Some of them can't get booked in Helium. And they're going to drive 3 hours to do a show that we do and destroy. And it's not because they're, the only funny people in Binghamton or whatever, but it's like they're just really, really talented. And those people at that table fuck themselves by not seeing like Gary Wallace or Jesse Winterhalter or Liz Reeves. Like, there's so many talented people up there.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead and shout out your socials, any shows you have coming up after May 15th, and anything else you want to say.
May 16th here at Crooked Mouth, Caitlin, what's her last name?
Reese.
Caitlin Reese is going to be here. She's very funny. I'm Steve is Jewish, or Stephen Brown on Facebook, and Crooked Mouth Comedy Fest coming this fall.
I run the Don't Tell shows in Binghamton and Syracuse, so if you see anything going on, go for that. I also run every show under Homebrewed Comedy. I do shows all over the state, and Pennsylvania. So like McGraw Box Brewing is right on then, and we're always there. And yeah, I got a podcast on the mic with Mike Peters where I interview comedians all over the country. So we got 340 episodes, something like that. And my Instagram is Mike Peters Comedian. Everything, you can get a hold of me there. And I appreciate you having us.
Yeah,
thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
I don't end these well, so if you got
Nobody does.
Okay.
Nobody
cool.
does.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe.